Hello!
Hello!
Welcome to the beautiful Salvage workshop. I'm Amy.
And I'm Julie.
And today we are going to make everything nautical and elegantly shipwrecked. So for the rest of the summer, the theme in our store is going to be elegantly shipwrecked, and we create fun summer and summer nautical things, boating and sailing and seashells and all of that. So we have some projects today. The first project I'm going to show you is I have this is my favorite piece of summer decor for myself. I found a hand-carved boat. And so it looks like this, and I am going to try to replicate it, not completely because this would take some time to hand carve out the middle of the boat, but I thought it would be cute to trace the shape onto this 2x6 and cut it out, and so it would be the shape of a boat. And then Julie had this, I don't remember what this is called.
I think it's to tie off your boat.
Yeah, it has a name. I'll remember the name later. But anyways, so I'm gonna mount that to my boat so the boat hangs on the wall. So you'll see it as we go further into the project, but it'll be cute that way. So what do you have, Julie?
Well, we have this pretty little shelf. We're gonna make sure the corners look even the same, and then we're gonna salt wash it, and then we're gonna add some shells. Several shelves along the way here for hanging light objects. That'd be a really pretty oceany blue color probably.
Pretty. And then what I have is I've been doing some ocean art with resin. So I'm going to try to do some ocean art with this window here. And first I'm going to salt wash the window, and we'll show you our recipe. We have kind of a homemade recipe for doing the salt wash on small projects. And so I'm going to salt wash the frame and then do a resin ocean wave or lake wave. We're in Minnesota, so lake waves. So, and then I also have these crushed shells that I might sprinkle in there. And so that, oh yeah, and I did think of another thought. If I get around to it, I could pick up more of those boat tie-offs and put them on the bottom of the window for hangers. But we'll see how things progress here.
Gonna be cool.
And then one last project Julie has.
Well, I came across a whole bunch of corks and never did really figure out what I wanted to do with them. Amy found a project to make some keychains. So they're going to be little Bouy Keychains. I'm going to paint these like a buoy and then add a little rope on the bottom and the keychain on top.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that people could use these as their boat keychain.
Yeah,
and we're going to test it out to see if it floats with a key. So we'll show you. We'll see. But all right, let's get started.
Let's go.
So we got right to work. I traced my boat onto the 2x6 with a pencil and then clamped my board to the workbench to secure it in order to cut it with a jigsaw. While I was working on this, Julie was prepping the ledge with the shell hooks. The corners on it weren't symmetrical, so we had to take off a little piece in order to make it symmetrical. The piece that she's working on, it looks like a headboard trim piece to a door or a baseboard. I'm not sure which one it was, but it's still a cool old piece. When cutting my boat out, it was really difficult for me to get a perfect cut for some reason, probably because of the way I had it clamped to the workbench. In the end, it was okay that it wasn't quite a perfect cut because I ended up being able to sand my rough edges off. It still isn't completely perfect, but that's what we love about handmade items. Each piece is unique and has a character of its own. So the boat that I was replicating had a metal piece on the top and then 2 little metal pieces on the bottom as well. And I wanted to do the same thing because I thought it was really cute. So I've been using this tin from an old ceiling tile that I have for just little projects like this. So that's what I did, is I took and traced the top of the boat and cut out the shape with my tin snips. I always keep my tetanus shot up to date because I know I'm messing with rusty items like this. So just a reminder, if you work with rusty items and have fun repurposing, to get your tetanus shot. But anyway, so I just cut the little shapes out with my tin snips, and it was sharp. So what I don't have on camera is I did end up pounding all the sharp edges down just against the wood, making it really flat so there's no edge sticking up out of the tin. I painted the boat, and then I decided to freehand a stripe, and later on I added another green stripe just to add more detail. And I wasn't too particular about how perfect it was going to be because I knew I was going to make it look a little bit weathered and sand it off a little bit. I sealed the paint with wax, and then I also sprayed the tin pieces with a clear coat. I added a heavy-duty D-hook so that someone could hang a relatively heavy coat or something from the hook that I was going to add. The part of the tin that was sticking up from the boat, I did add a piece of rope just so that it wouldn't catch and be sharp on any pieces of clothing that are hung from the hook. I thought it added more of a fun detail too with the nautical rope. Then it was time to attach the rope cleat. I thought the screws looked too new, so I took some Waverly antiquing wax and just dabbed the screws with it, and then also went around the edges of all the tin just to make it look like it was kind of rusty and aged. This piece is so cute, and I think it could be used as a table sitter as well. I added one more little detail in the end, which is just making a little place for a rope that could be tied onto the boat. So I just hammered a U-nail into the tin in the front of the boat. Once that was hammered in, I added more antiquing wax to get rid of the galvanized shiny look. This would be a really cute piece of decor to hang your towel or swimming suit from too. For the next 2 projects, I used my own Saltwash. For this recipe, I mixed a half a cup of milk or chalk paint, a 1/4 cup of coarse salt, and then a 1/4 cup of Durham's rock hard water putty, and then 1 to 3 tablespoons of water, depending on how dry the mixture is. I like it to be the consistency of a thick cake batter. So I usually just pour a little bit of water at a time, just until it starts to form that texture of a thick batter. I've seen recipes done like this many different ways. I apply this Saltwash batter on in a stipple motion. I don't worry about full coverage. The Saltwash batter does take quite a bit of time to dry, so to speed up the process, I used my heat gun for this project. After it was dry, I brushed over the entire piece with white, and not quite a dry brush, but just a little bit heavier than a dry brush, just so that Saltwash would show through. We are going to finish the window frame a little bit differently, so stay tuned for that. If anyone wants a more detailed video on how we do our salt washes, just leave a comment below and we can try to make that for you or answer any questions you might have. Before I got further into the project and attached my shells to the front of the piece, I put my D hooks on the back. Something I've learned when putting hooks on the back of items is that our studs are 16 inches on center in our homes. That's the way we do it in Minnesota at least, and that's code. And so it's really nice to hit a stud when we're hanging things. So I usually try to either hang put my hangers at 16 inches on center or 32 inches on center, just so that we can hit those studs. So my white paint was dry, so I was able to attach my seashells with E6000. And after I attached the shells, I actually went over it again and went around the perimeter of the shell with more E6000 just to give it that extra strength. This piece isn't meant to support heavy objects with the seashells, but I thought it would be cute to maybe hang necklaces or light hats. And then you can also put a picture on the ledge if you wanted. For the final step, I just sealed the entire piece, even the seashells, with a clear spray coat. It turned out to be a cute little project for our elegantly shipwrecked decor. Now on to my favorite project out of this collection in this video. I did the same Saltwash finish on this piece, but instead of just leaving the finish, I sanded the finish down so you get more of the green color, the blue color coming through. It also makes for a smoother finish. And then to seal the paint and the salt wash, I white waxed the frame. I made sure that my glass was really clean before I applied any resin to it. Just before doing this project, I wanted to make sure that I kind of had an idea of what I was getting myself into, so I had done a couple of wave or ocean cutting boards. Here I'm showing you that I'm wearing my proper protective gear and my respirator. For this Mod Podge brand of resin, you mix equal parts of the solutions together, and you kind of want to go pretty slowly when you mix, just so that you don't create bubbles. I sped the video up, but if you were to mix this in real time, it would be a lot slower. I didn't have any dark blue acrylic paint to tint my resin, so what I did is I mixed a little bit of black paint and blue paint together to create a darker blue. During my research on doing resin work, you definitely want to use either acrylic paint or a mica powder or a dye that is proven to work with resin, just so that it doesn't mess with the consistency and hardening of the resin itself. It is also recommended that no more than 1/6 of your solution should be colorant, because too much colorant will also hinder the hardening and durability of your resin. So less is more. I divided the activated resin into 6 cups. For dark blue, royal blue, light blue, aqua, clear, and white. Then I used about 5 or 6 drops of acrylic paint to get my desired colors. I then just went for it, pouring my paint in kind of a diagonal direction, and I got nervous after this first pour because I didn't look like I made enough to cover my surface area, so I moved it around with a popsicle stick, and I knew that I could go back after this had dried and do a second wave. So I kept going, just pouring each color right up next to each other. Then for the tip of my wave, I poured the clear resin and then the white. This clear layer is so that when we blow the wave formation, the white doesn't just blend into the other colors. So when I made the wave cutting boards, just to familiarize myself with this type of project, I used my heat gun to blow my waves. I thought maybe I would get better results with my hair dryer this time, so I made an attempt. I'm not sure if it was just not hot enough or strong enough, or maybe the resin had sat too long, but it didn't work at all. So I ended up using my heat gun. I just worked my way from one end to the other, blowing that white resin up into the rest of the colors. And also used the heat gun to kind of blow and mix the other colors as well. I was thankful the resin ended up leveling off, so there wasn't a need to do another wave. After drying for about 24 hours, it was time to attach the hardware. I picked up some rope cleats to use as nautical hooks, and using Dollar Tree rope, I just wrapped the rope around the hooks in a way that I thought looked nice. I'm really happy with the way this project turned out, and I'm looking forward to doing similar projects in the future. Now on to the final project in this collection, the keychain buoys made from corks. To make them look more like the shape of a buoy, we carved the corks using a paring knife and a wood file. First, Julie painted the white on top and then let that dry, and then we went back and painted the bottom in all the different colors. We painted them using the same acrylic paint that we used for tinting the resin earlier. We dabbed a little bit of E6000 on the top of the eye hook before screwing them into the top and bottom of the cork. And then to put an extra sealer over the acrylic paint, we used a spray clear coat. I purchased my keychains off from Amazon. For the bottom of the keychain, I looped some rope around and just made a cute little knot. I tested it out to see if it floats with a key, and I was so happy with the results. This would be a great gift for Father's Day next year, or for anyone who owns a boat. Well, that wraps up our projects in this video. If you like what you saw today, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And if you want to shop for upcycled and repurposed items, you can shop online at beautifulsalvage.com. Thank you for watching all the way through, and have a beautiful day.